Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all doing well out there. Tensions are riding high tonight, and Heather should be wearing some headphones. But tensions and passions are riding high tonight with this topic that was sprung on us a little bit last minute here, but it should still be pretty good. So we are going to be talking about why musical movies are bad. This one was suggested by Cordero. How are you doing tonight, sir?
What have I done? Sweet Jesus, what have I done? Become a thief on the night? Become a dog on the run?
I guess so.
I should be in a Hollywood movie. I'm just as
Probably.
good as Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's right. Because that was one of the more recent adaptations there.
11 years ago, 2012.
Holy frick! I blinked.
Yep.
So I don't know all that much about musical movies. There's not really that many I've seen. I was sort of into musical theater when I was in high school and a little bit initially into college, but that was pretty much it. So I brought on Canto, who knows a little bit more about this type of thing. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Pretty good, yeah. Did a lot of musicals.
Yep, and then in passing, while I was mentioning the topic for tonight, Heather heard that the topic was why are musical movies bad, and Heather, I would like you to recreate your reaction to hearing that information.
I believe it went a little something like, "What? I have some thoughts, some feelings, and some prayers that are about to go unanswered."
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yes, I have thoughts because musical movies are some of my favorite movies.
I'll
I'm
answer
about
your
to walk
prayers.
all
You
over
just might not
this.
like the answer.
So that's Cordero, what made you want to talk about this tonight?
Okay, so basically, I've clickbaited everyone, including Brony. I have a musical theater background. I've done many musicals, and I love them. And actually, I grew up with a ton of musical adaptation movies that are absolutely incredible. This is a clickbait title because I specifically wanted to talk about, well, 11 years ago. It still feels like a recent trend because the last few big Hollywood musicals have had a really bad trend that is making them horrible.
Mm.
And that is it is the recent trend of musicals that are bad. I actually grew up with a ton of legacy films that I love.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Alrighty then.
Baited.
So you were triggered by
Hated is a word to describe this.
Les Miserables, and I haven't
That's
seen
one of
that
them.
one. I haven't seen that one myself, but I did hear that the singing in it wasn't all that great. Harriman is in the chat and he says, for the record, Les Miserables was awful because the actors were allowed to set the pace for the song and actors suck at singing.
Mm.
So real quick,
Harriman already said it. There it is. There's the whole debate. Thanks for coming, guys.
real quick here. Let me just shout out everybody who supports the channel because I should have done that about a minute ago. Princess Heather Blossom, who's with us. Pony Cordero, who's with us, Canto Acrylic VA, who's with us. There's also Shady Oak Ministries, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Mr. Sonic 31, Ridge the Hedgehog, Alicia Lynette, Zeta Z, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, VultureCorp, and Dark Malcontent. All those links are in the description. If you'd like to get a message read out on the stream, there's a tip jar at the top of the description there. Now then, so there was Les Miserables, that was a really bad one, but then there was also Cats, and Cats was the one, like, our friend Louie really wanted to sit down and watch Cats with us. I got through about, and I was like, I am going to tough this out for my friends. And with all the determination that I could muster, I got through 10 minutes.
Bro.
And said, I'm sorry, guys. I need to check out. This is going. I am in physical pain.
There is not enough magic in Equestria for the friendship it takes to sit through that movie for someone.
Dude, Like I completely blanked that out from my memory until you mentioned it, and it was like, wait. Oh god, it was because I saw it with like
Yeah.
my senior class as a field trip. And I remember just sitting there in the theater with all these theaters. We were all just sitting there going, "What is this? What are we looking at this?"
Yes.
So, the musical movies I've seen, let me see if I can list them all. There's The Greatest Showman, which was pretty good.
Honestly, that one bucks the trend. I actually need to see that movie. I've only seen scenes from it, and that one's actually good because it doesn't do this trend. It doesn't do it.
Dude, you have to come over. I have it on like Blu-ray or
gotta-
DVD. It's
Deal.
one of my favorites.
Come
Deal.
over
Love
as
it.
soon as the stream is over. We'll have some potato tacos for you, and we'll put it on.
Ooh, nice. It's tempting.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that one. There's what else have I seen? Oh, Brigadoon was one that was close to me because that was the one I did in senior year of high school, and I watched the movie to sort of get to, because that was the easiest way for me to memorize the lines. But I enjoyed that one a lot. I don't know if The Wizard of Oz counts. Was the Wizard of
Yes.
Oz was a book, then a
Yes, it
movie,
does.
then a musical, wasn't it?
Yes.
The musical
Yeah.
came after the movie, so that was adapted from. So that was adapted book, movie, musical.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
So there was, and then there was West Side Story and Chicago, and those were
Great
good.
movies.
One that I've seen that it's like I know I've seen, but I have no memories of it because I repressed it because I hated it, was Moulin Rouge. And I haven't seen the
Moulin Rouge is
new.
just a playlist.
I
Moulin
guess
Rouge
so.
is just it's just a karaoke night for A-list celebrities. It's not
Yeah.
a show.
Oh, we lost Heather for a second there. Anyway,
did I trigger Heather again?
No, it's just she's out on my laptop. Anyway, I have not seen the new version of the West Side Story. I heard that it was like done entirely in like the Spanish characters were just speaking Spanish with no subtitles. Yeah, and literally, Steven Spielberg got on, and when I chose not to allow subtitles for this movie because, and his words were almost exactly because white people have already had enough power over the language.
Hey,
I mean, the
what?
reason's stupid, but what? You guys can't speak Spanish? I thought everyone could speak Spanish.
I'm like, bro, no.
We are not
I
in
took the
California
class-
anymore, Heather.
Dude,
I took the classes, but I
No
didn't
alcohol,
retain a
no?
thing.
I want to see Steven Spielberg
Serio?
open a film in Paris in France and have the native language of the movie be Italian and not subtitle it and tell them it's a French movie. I want to see how that goes over, how well that goes over for him.
It would
I'm like, it can
probably
be-
it would probably get bombed out for not being subtitled in Arabic, actually.
just like, bro.
Oh wow!
Or Swahili
okay,
with the way Paris is going right now.
we have shifted this debate.
Jesus Christ.
so Sharia law, the musical.
Well, no, that's an oxymoron. Sharia law wouldn't allow for a musical.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what is it about Les Miserables exactly? The new one that sucks so bad, and what trend did it start? Because I'm unaware of any trends here.
Okay, so Les Miserables and Cats the musical, and I think there's a couple others. I'm just not thinking of them off the top of my head. There's this new trend where basically Hollywood A-listers are like, "Ooh, we want to do musicals, but we have to fix the musicals for the big screen." Like all of this music, all of this like organized metrics that you're supposed to sing in and do the lines on pitches and rhythm, that's too limiting for me, man. I'm an artist. I need to have the freedom to just emote and express the way I want on camera, and the music has to adjust to me. So basically they just put the cart before the horse, and so Hugh Jackman or whoever would just sing whatever on, there was kind of the melody on whatever rhythm they wanted to in like what they thought was an emotive and expressive way. And it's painful watching the behind the scenes as they literally make like an 80-man orchestra bend themselves around this man's timing choices. and their reason for doing it is they're like, well, I have to do my big acting, and I can't do my big acting right unless I switch the music. And the truth is that means you're bad at musicals. Like, they are, Hollywood A-listers are so arrogant. They think that they are the top #1 of all spoken art, basically. Like, they think that is the go-to pinnacle for everything. And what they don't realize is that musical theater is a specialization that takes a different kind of talent than being an on-screen film actor. It's a different kind of talent to do stage acting, and a whole nother talent entirely to do singing. And basically saying, we're just going to appropriate these musicals, but turn them into like Hollywoodified movies where we do whatever with the pitches and rhythm, because that's more art. Fuck you. It's so arrogant. It's an insult to musicals. It's an insult to an entire art form by basically saying, I'm fixing your art form and making it better. They don't say that, but that's what they're saying without saying it. Because the truth is they're just not very good at musicals. They are not good at taking the existing pitches and rhythms and bringing forth that emotive performance, because if they were, they wouldn't complain that they were limited. Because the really good stage actors and musical actors do not feel limited by the pitches and rhythms. They feel empowered by it.
Now that's really interesting, especially considering Les Mis, which was led by Hugh Jackman, who, if I'm remembering correctly, got his start in musical theater and was actually really good.
A lot of A-listers did. Hugh Jackman is a good singer. He's awful in that movie.
Do you think that might be a directing choice, or did he do that himself?
It was a Hugh Jackman choice.
It was a Hugh Jackman choice.
I can put I can give you a link to Sideways video about it, why Les Miserables 2012 is worse than you thought. It's a fantastic YouTube video on the subject. But basically, Hugh Jackman was depriving himself. He would deprive himself of water and was basically doing a fighter weight cut so that he would look jacked for the opening scene. And I don't know if anybody has any.
And then they let him record himself singing like that? Yeah.
Yes. He deprived himself of water so that he could do a fighter weight cut so that he could look jacked. And he's wearing a shirt in the scene. So you're not even getting the effect of that. And he literally, on a regular basis, demolished his voice. Also, they were singing fully on voice for like 10 and 12-hour days. They're like, oh man, you got to be on your full voice for 10 and 12 hours. Professional opera singers don't do that. Professional opera singers do a thing called marking when they're in rehearsal, including like a lot of dress rehearsals and stuff. And marking is where you just sort of pseudo sing it, like very softly, but not on your full voice. So if like an opera singer is like Toreador en garde, if you were marking, you would go Toreador en garde. That would be marking, and then you would do your whole part, all of your lines like that. You would mark the whole thing. So you've got your pitches, you got your rhythms, you got your entrances and exits, you got all your timing down. It's all in muscle memory. And then when the lights go down, the orchestra comes in, and it's time for actual show night. Boom, you pop into your full voice, and there it is. Because if you over sing on full voice all the time, you will literally damage the instrument. Like the human body can only sing so much before it literally starts breaking down. You can cause permanent damage to your body. So they're singing on full voice for 10 to 12 hours a day. And literally you can hear the effect on their voice in the takes. Because a lot of these people are good singers, including Russell Crowe. I'm not kidding. There's footage of Russell Crowe singing well.
I've heard Russell Crowe sing, yeah.
Yeah, he's a fine singer, but like just some combination of phoning it in and hurting his voice like Hugh Jackman, because to Hugh Jackman's credit, he was trying super hard. In fact, he was over trying in the movie, but like you can hear how much he wrecked his voice, so that's holding him back. You can hear him ignoring the pitches and rhythm to quote unquote act the lines, and that's holding him back. And then the final thing holding him back, the third strike, is Valjean's too high for him. The tessitura is too high for him, and you can literally hear that it's out of his range while he's singing. He's a great singer. He's even a tenor. Valjean is an incredibly difficult role. You have to be a strong high tenor to do Valjean, and it's just, I'm sorry, you're a lyric tenor. It's out of your range. It's too high for you.
Yeah.
So the three strikes, literally the role's too high for him. He sabotaged his own voice, and he's not following the pitches and rhythm. and he looks
Mm.
at the camera in interviews and says, "And that's why my art is good."
Ah.
So, Canto, Cordero's been ranting for a while here. Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
To be honest, I didn't watch that movie at all. I know of the musical. I knew that like Hugh Jackman like led it. So like I mean, of course I understand that like after like singing for multiple hours, you cannot like do the song justice with like
Yeah.
a shattered voice, literally.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah, I completely understand like that kind of thing because you see people like that in theater all the time. People who like try to interpret like songs in their own way by just not doing it the way it was supposed to be done. Which yeah, you know, which is a big difference between like making the song your own by
Yeah.
like adapting stuff that other singers have done, which is something I do, but like not something that was done there.
Kanto, what is your music experience? Are you a singer? Are you an instrumentalist?
I sing and I play guitar, but like
Nice.
did I did
Oh yeah, Kanto
musical
to sing.
theater a good amount of my I
Yeah.
did musicals a good amount of my life. So like it was like
Okay,
yeah,
so
which
you're
is like yeah.
sorry. So you'll
Yeah,
you'll
you're
get
good.
you'll get this. You'll get this. Like it's so funny watching Hugh Jackman warp an orchestra around him because he's powerful enough to do that. The A-list actors are the only people in the world that can do this to an orchestra. Because if you've ever
Mhm.
practiced with a musical orchestra in a musical or whatever you're doing, if you want to change anything, like let's say, oh, I want to hold this note out a little longer. I want to put a fermata on here to make it more dramatic. You've got to approve that with the director. They've got to know about
Yeah.
it ahead of time, and they've got to practice it with you. And
Yeah.
there's only so much you can stretch it. And then once you
Yeah.
practice it, that's now your version of it, and that's what we're doing. And,
Yeah.
and like every other in the real musical theater world, if you
Yeah.
tried to bend the, if you like, hey orchestra, you just got to follow me, they would
Yeah, nah.
laugh at you and
That
kick you
wouldn't work.
out. Would they
Yeah.
not? Like there's no
Yeah,
orchestra
nah,
conductor
that's
in the
not something
world.
that would fly.
He would literally cut it off if you were trying to go, what have I done, sweet Jesus, what have I done, become a thing. He would literally just cut it off and be like and like tap his baton. No, sing it on beat. On beat. Like you can't do that. Like
Yeah.
he's literally warping the art and saying that he's more artistic for doing so. Like is that
Yeah.
not offensive to all of musical theater?
I would say, yeah, that's definitely like a stretch making it better, and definitely kind of like a definitely a flex of like being an A-list celebrity. That's something literally only an A-list celebrity
Yes.
could do.
Yeah.
Because like typically, like even like just for like people on like Broadway to like sit there and be like, okay, I want to change the key just because it's a little too low or it's like because it's a little too high or whatever. Because not
Yeah.
every tenor is gonna be able to hit the same kind of notes. Say a person who playing Jack Kelly wanted to like bring down Santa Fe. Literally, he would have to like bring that up to like the director, bring it up to the orchestra or the director, and they had to practice it.
Yeah.
And had to like work with. They would have to. That's a team thing, and that's
Yeah.
and like with which is why musical theater is so intricate and why it feels so homey because it's it's a literal collaborative effort. It's
Yeah.
like the musicians, it's the directors, it's the acting, it's the actors, it's the ensemble, it's the stagehands. That's
Yeah.
that's what makes theater so unique because it's a really one true thing where you can see in real time the effect of multiple people working in tandem.
Right.
And when a person sits there like, okay, I'm an actor, I am being paid to be here. Orchestra over there, you're being paid to make the music how it's written. So now I'm gonna
Mhm.
sit here and tell you to just follow me and just see what
Yeah.
happens.
Just chop it all up and do it
It's
and
just
do
you
whatever I
gotta.
want. Oh,
So it
it's
sounds
so
like
gross.
the issue that they're having here is a matter of trying to turn the musical into the film, or the film into the musical, rather than
Yeah.
having the musical become the film. So
Yeah.
we got
I've seen the Les Mis
instances
movie.
now. We got instances now of like Hamilton, which I'm pretty sure is just they set the camera crew up around the stage to get all the angles that they were going
Yes.
to need, and
Yeah,
then they ran
correct.
it. And I'm pretty sure they ran it at a live performance too.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They got multiple camera angles and just did a really good job capturing the audio and the stage movement on it. I need to watch that. That's on like Disney Plus. I need to like.
Yeah, but like, does that? I don't even think that qualifies as a musical, a movie musical. You know, because it's just a film of the musical with like this is what I consider what is a movie adaptation of a musical. Like that'd be something like
The Sound of Music.
like The Sound of Music, or like that that whole that 2 hours and 17 minutes worth of man that was Dear Evan Hansen. Oh my. Okay,
I didn't
I'm
see
gonna
that.
rant for a second because I just
Okay.
oh my god. I loved the musical Dear Evan Hansen. I loved it. I did love the musical. When I looked at the clips of that movie, I have never been so bored looking at a musical in my entire life. Like they do the same type of cinematography for every single song, and it just seems very empty. The one thing I will give it credit for doing is like showing how far Brad's voice has evolved and improved since he recorded the original Broadway cast. It was so bland. I didn't like it at all.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen that
Jesus.
one, so I wouldn't even know how to
Eh,
comment.
Don't even waste your time with it,
Okay,
bro.
I won't.
Like I just looked at the clips and I was just like, oh my god, I'm so
sounds
bored.
gross.
It was. Bro.
Brony,
So-
on what you were saying about the adaptation of Les Mis, basically the way that they wanted to do that show, the music was literally in the way. I've seen that movie a couple times. I've seen like not think pieces, what's it called? People making YouTube videos, long form discussing, analyzing it. Video essays. I've seen tons of video
Yeah.
essays talking about it. And basically my opinion and some of their opinions is that they needed to cut the music. They literally just needed to make a live action spoken version of Les Miserables, and I
So
literally think it would have been a better movie.
adapt the book and not the musical.
Oh well, the book and the musical have very different plots. So you could take the musical plot if you like the way the musical plot is better, and more people are familiar with that one. Just take the musical plot, but just write it as a regular script and have no music.
Well, there's
No
plenty
yeah.
of examples out there of musical movies that, and what they did was they wrote the music and then they did the cinematography around the music after it was recorded properly, and then they based everything. Oh, we got a tip.
Nice.
Hey yo.
Hey kids, the word of the day is narcissism. Hugh Jackman ordering around the orchestra is a classic sign of narcissism.
Yes.
Exclamation mark tilde.
Absolutely
Bruh.
correct. Well said. It is
Yep.
narcissism.
So, yeah, if they're on set now, here's how movies work. You get as many takes as you need, provided you have the budget. So it like Star Wars Phantom Menace, for example, they would
Yeah.
they did like 60 takes of that of one of the scenes of young Anakin talking to Queen Amidala, right?
Mhm.
And then there would be like, okay, we like the way he inflected this word on take number 43, but we liked his face from take number 23, so we're gonna take the lips off of take 43, and we're gonna superimpose them, and we're gonna use that audio, and then right, and they're just patching the scene together, and you have that flexibility on a movie. But if you're trying to do it live
Yeah.
on a movie set, which is also a horrible idea, because most movies out there are also done with automated dialogue replacement, where they go in after the fact and
Yeah.
and replace and voice act their own lines again so that they can actually be heard, because you've got machines blowing rain around. You've got lights which have their own hum to them. You've got all these things just ruining the audio. And there was one example. Old Hollywood had no problem with this. Brigadoon was a well-established musical. They just adapted. Yeah, they adapted the story to cinematography, and then they did all the recording of their songs, and then they played it back, and then they did ADR and made a movie out of the musical. Singing in the Rain, same thing. And they would record takes over and over again until they got the choreography exactly right, and they would
and that's the correct way to do it.
They filmed Good Morning for 18 hours, and the leading lady's feet were bleeding by the end of it, but it looked good and it sounded good. And then there's also there's the Genetic Opera, which is one of Heather's favorites, and where they did,
By the way, when is Heather getting a turn to talk?
I'm trying to lead into that, but yeah, they wrote the story, they wrote the music, they recorded the music, and then they made a bunch of music videos, which is the proper way to adapt. So, Heather, you've been listening to us rant for a while. Do you have any thoughts on what we're talking about here?
The crux of the argument has been based on how Hugh Jackman screwed up Les Miserables. And I don't think that's a whole thing on the entirety of Hollywood, though that seems to be a trend with a few people who are from Hollywood. It is a problem with letting Hugh Jackman direct. Because The Greatest Showman, a movie that's a musical that Hugh Jackman is in, is amazing. And it's because they didn't let Hugh Jackman take over completely. He was the main star. He got the attention he wanted because he was the main guy. But that musical movie is like one of the best musical movies ever made. And it's 2017. It came out after Les Miserables, and I'm not going to keep saying Les Miserables over and over and over again because, gosh, my
you could
tongue
just
is
say
tired.
Les Mis.
Literally.
Les Mis.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what we. Right.
And to follow up on that, Repo the Genetic Opera was another example of like just done right. Didn't get the credit that it could have in the day. But
And by the way, guys, that sizzling you hear in the background, that's Heather's. I was gonna say that's
By the
your.
way, I should flip that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's your anger boiling over.
Yeah.
She's getting fired up about this, man.
The trend I was specifically referring to, it's basically Les Mis and Cats 2019, and if anybody can think of any others.
Yeah, that's another thing about Cats. Cats was never good. It wasn't good on stage. It wasn't good on the screen. Big shocker there. The only thing anyone gave a crap about from Cats was Memory. That was it. And then people just covered that song, and that's all people knew from Cats. I knew Memory for years and didn't realize it was from Cats because everyone hates Cats so much. You know what I'm going to tell you, though? I have absolutely no musical background. Yes, I was in theater when I was in high school and college and did musical theater then, but I don't know what a soprano, tenor, or whatever the hell all that stuff is. All I know is when music hit ear, does it make the good chemical in brain? And it did.
Well, if anything, that's why we value your opinion so much here, because we can, well, these two can speculate all day, and I can come at it from a film perspective, but where's the dumb layman's perspective?
I think you mean the intelligent casual enjoyer. Thank you very much. Freaking, I should have you out here cooking these tacos. Get your freaking hand burned because you deserve it. Anyhow,
the casual enjoyer versus the virgin enthusiast.
Hey, yo.
What were you saying?
All I'm saying is it definitely comes down to bad direction. And so far, you only have one big example of like it being flummoxed, La Mis, and Cats. And in my opinion, Cats was never good. And by God, I gotta flip this taco before it kills me.
So that doesn't sound like it's really much of a trend then. If all we can come up with is two. Now before the but we've got other angles we could tackle this from.
Well, we may only have two nickels, but it's weird that happened twice because they both made the same two critical errors. And that was warping the music, and the other was, as you said, Brony, recording live. like taking
Yeah.
the music, literally trying to have like a quiet, soft set so that they could record on the set.
No, to a
which is
degree, I feel like you could say it's because they're trying too hard to be authentic, like it's a Broadway musical actually, and not a movie. If you treat like you're adapting a Broadway musical to a movie, it could turn out into a really good musical movie. But don't treat a musical movie like it's a Broadway that's just being recorded, like Hamilton. Hamilton, I'm not even. Shit, right in my face.
Ooh.
Oh God, I'm turning that off for now because.
That's exactly correct. The Hamilton recording works because
because it was just like they straight just put a camera in front of the stage and recorded.
They did more than that. They were trying to capture the exact stage performance, but the movie is trying to make a movie, but trying to get your audio from the movie set is just doomed for failure.
Yeah.
As both of these examples. And so that's why it's weird, is because they both warped the music with the actors and they both recorded on site. So that's why it feels like a trend already, because it's like, oh God, is this what musical movies are going to be like? And thank God the Greatest Showman exist, proving that not only can you do it right with Hollywood actors, but as Heather pointed out, Hugh Jackman was in The Failure, and then he was in the successful one, doing well. Like,
and not only that,
if you just do the medium properly, you can make something good.
And all they had to do really to make it what they wanted it was just pre-record the music and then lip sync to it. Because another thing that you told me about Cordero with that, and you told me this a long time ago, was that they were method acting on set while they were recording on set. So, which is just another way to destroy your voice. So not only are you like starving yourself so you can get that cut look, Hugh Jackman, but you're also like actually trying to pick up all these heavy things and do all this manual labor on the ship scene or in all this other stuff, and you cannot sing under those conditions. You can still now method acting is great for film because it brings out the most authentic reactions and acting for when the camera is that close up to your face, and the audience is going to be able to see the minutia details in your eyes and your face and your expressions to know whether or not the emotion is authentic. So you can still method act, you just can't sing and method act at the same time and then use that audio.
When you're singing, you have to be in complete control of your voice. And if you do anything to your body that makes you lose control of your voice, you're doing the entire medium wrong. And that's why it doesn't work. So like Anne Hathaway literally crying while she's singing Fontaine's Death song, you can't cry and sing. You can give the impression that you're crying while singing. People on Broadway do it all the time, but you are 100% in control of your voice the entire time. You cannot literally cry and sing. You can make it feel like you're crying while singing, though. And that's why it's a different art and a different skill.
So we've got two examples here that thankfully, like, we say it's a trend, but it's
only two.
Yeah, thankfully it's the only two. I wouldn't say that's much of a trend there, and for the most part, the medium is pretty good. But there's other, I mean, I don't think Hollywood is stupid. I just think they, sometimes on certain things they're willing to lose money. I don't think they were willing to lose money on Cats and Les Mis. I thought they were thinking they were doing something unique and it was going to be an experiment, and then it didn't end well, so they didn't keep doing it. But there's other angles to why musical movies are bad that we can tackle. So like what Hamilton, for example, right?
Yeah.
Well, they haven't done that one yet. They've only filmed the stage production, as we've
Wait, they're actually making that a movie?
Well, no. The Hamilton movie is just a recording of the stage play with really good cinematography,
which is different from making a movie.
Right. So so that would stink as a movie just as itself there, because I remember watching that and thinking, it was gonna be a really good movie, but it ended up just being a recording. So I didn't necessarily get what I was expecting there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. But I did get a comment from Will from Willie Eisen,
Yeah.
the guy who tipped us earlier in my Discord server when I pitched this. Let me scroll up to what he said here. He
I
said,
think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, he said, okay, so I asked, does anybody have any opinions on musical movies? Oh, he talked about Rent, and that was hilarious
okay.
too. But
Hey.
at first he goes Hamilton, before, a little after that, he goes, Hamilton was written by racists, and more youth today think
What?
Hamilton was actually black.
Well,
Oh no.
He said, Rent is a piece of...
Nobody thinks Hamilton was black. That is
no.
that is false. Nobody watches Hamilton and says, "Oh, I guess the founding fathers were black." That's not real.
Unless you're like 5 and can't distinguish reality.
Exactly. Maybe like a 4-year-old would think that.
He goes,
Temporarily.
he also said Rent is a piece of trash, and so are the people who like
Disagree.
it. Yeah,
Disagree.
well, don't be
Rent
rash.
is a great musical,
Don't be
and the
rash.
movie was good.
Yeah. Like,
And-
I can understand why people wouldn't like it. It addresses of something that was considered like passe at the time, which is like in the late, like at the end of the 90s, where like
89.
89 or my
Yeah.
bad. I don't know my
Well,
time period.
That's when that's when Andrew Larson made it. Or when
Like
it
it
hit
was
Broadway.
passing on a time in his life. It was based on a time where like AIDS was like just new, and like it was living in like it just touches on stuff that like most people don't want to know about, like the life of
It's
people
very
who live
uncomfortable.
in
Yeah.
Bohemian New York. But that was his life.
Yeah.
That's what he
He was-
experienced.
Exactly. He was commenting on both the AIDS epidemic of the 80s and poverty itself. And I think it's a really good musical. And also the main musical number that everyone remembers, La Boheme, where he gets up on the table and dances, spoiler, that's actually borrowed from another musical called Hair from the 60s. So like the 60s Vietnam protest musical Hair, yeah, and then in the late 80s Andrew Larson like referenced that the walking on the table and singing, he referenced that in Rent because they have similar commentary ideas, but they're like a different generation. It's actually really cool, I think.
I fucking loved Rent. Rent was literally the first musical I was ever introduced to.
Oh, cool.
And it's like I've been like so literally like my mom was just like played Rent a lot around me as a kid. Like so like at some point as a kid I'm just like play Seasons of Love, mommer.
Yeah.
And then just like
Seasons of Love is funny because if that's the only song you know from the show, for some people it is either that or La Boheme. No other song in the show is like that. Like that's the change up song.
Exactly. It's just like I loved like I was like I don't think Rent is the best musical in the world. Personally, if I looked at Larson's musicals, I enjoy Tick Tick Boom better. But like I can see like I can appreciate the authenticity that comes from both of those musicals because you can tell it was something that came from real life experience. Like you can see it like real life because everything they go through is real. Mimi is she struggles to love, but because she what else does she know? Roger is dying, but he doesn't see a lust for life. Mark wants to express himself, but everywhere around him, all his friends would be gone in the next year. And so it's just like it all feels in some way, shape, or form, you relate to everything those characters go through.
Yeah.
Somebody said Hair earlier, and they made they made an adaptation of Hair a while ago too with Christopher Walken. That was a full on movie, but they had the music done right.
How old is that? I've seen the musical movie for Hair, and it was good. That one was good too.
Yeah, I'm not sure how old it is, but
It used to be good at it.
Yeah,
Hollywood used to be good at a Greatest Showman, so I guess they're still figuring it out.
Yeah, they're still good.
I think the trend died at 2. I think that the trend died at 2.
Not much of a topic we've got here, so I'm pulling off a Discord here. Will said Rent. Will said Rent is about a bunch of jobless, oversexed morons who all have AIDS because they can't control themselves, complaining about the lease that they signed, and they think that their rebellion on not paying what they owed is somehow just. Basically, it's people who never grew out of the college party mindset, refusing to grow up.
Well, Roger was a former rock star frontman.
So the next question I have here is Heather, why is Repo the genetic opera good?
Because it's rock and roll and it kicks ass. You got a lot of good performances out of that one I wouldn't expect. Paris Hilton was in that and played the role great because the role was exactly who she was. It was a spoiled rich girl who wanted to pretend she was a star. So if you can make Paris Hilton just really good in a movie, I think you're doing a pretty good job because all Paris Hilton knows how to do is not work.
I can only remember one song from Repo, and it's that I'm pretty
Little
sure
Glass
it's the
Vial?
opening one. Yeah, Little Glass Vial.
It's not the opening.
And she's
but-
addicted to the knife, addicted to the knife, addicted to the
That's
knife.
the middle one. That's
Oh,
the middle
yeah.
one. And Paris Hilton shows up going, grave robber. I don't know why even bother. Grave robber.
Oh yeah, I
Yep.
remember now. And whenever she came on and started singing, my ears started bleeding.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
you're over exaggerating.
the singing was fine. Paris Hilton did fine singing. Like,
Yeah,
it's not like there
especially
was
for
anything.
someone who doesn't have the background and isn't an actress. She's
Right,
not.
which
She's
is
just a spoiled rich kid.
Which is impressive that she was able to. So obviously got a teacher and worked on it.
Yeah, she can afford one, and that's what I'm saying. The movie really had good acting in it, and if you can make someone who doesn't do anything do things, and it's good, I think that says a lot for the movie itself. Of course, there's a lot of cool practical effects too. I like that because there was a lot of. Well, I mean that's unrelated to the musical aspect. Never mind that. But freaking. It was just stylistically pleasing. It was and that was like a stage play before it became a musical, if I remember correctly. It was just characterized so incredibly well. And the freaking songs were just I still remember a lot of them to this day. I was thinking about them before I even knew about this freaking stream thing.
Repo was I disagree. Repo was all style and no substance. I watched the movie. I literally can't remember any song except Little Glass Vial, and Little Glass Vial is really just a minute and a half recitative anyway. And Little Glass Vial in any other musical would be like my 10th favorite song, and it's the best song in the show. Is Little Glass Vial, and the music is just pedestrian, forgettable, and poorly written. It's a poorly structured show. The story is bad. The story is bad. They did a bad job telling the story. Great premise, great style. Like all of that was right. The style and the feel of it was good, but they just executed horribly, and it was a problem with writing on that show.
Wrong, disagree, because I really liked the plot. It told a dark tale of a freaking man thinking he was responsible for the death of his own wife and having to carry that guilt with his kid. And the twist at the end, which I will not spoil, was just freaking mind-boggling.
They had the tone. They had the tonal awareness of a fan fiction writer. Just dark, edgy.
That is a
shock
cut.
value.
That is a very deep cut.
That's rich. That's rich coming from the fan fiction writer Cordero.
I know. That's how I would know. It's just shock value. The musical. That's all it is. Is like, can you believe that they did this? Can you believe that this stupid bitch ripped her eyes out? I spoiled the movie.
Oh, well,
that wasn't the twist I was talking about.
I wasn't watching it no time soon.
Yeah, this chick totally cut out her eyes. Also, if you guys are so fair warning for anyone who's interested in the movie, you gotta be okay with gore.
Yeah.
All the 12-year-olds stop. Put the keyboard away.
Don't
all the 12-year-olds are gonna go look this up right now because
12-year-olds are the ones that are most likely to enjoy genetic opera.
True.
I did find the musical when I was in high school, so that could say something or two.
That's when I found it too, and it was shown to me by another high school friend who was like, "Oh, this thing is so good! It's such a good musical." And then I watched it, and I just struggling to keep my freaking lunch down the whole time.
Jesus, yeah.
Sounded like you're a wuss.
Hey man, I'm sorry he can't digest watching a person rip their eyes out. As a person with glasses, I find that very disturbing.
Pardon me for having a value for human life.
Person with also a pair of glasses and apparently bigger cojones. Toughen up.
Listen, bro. My biggest fear is losing my eyes. I already can't see nothing. When we see nothing at all, bro, how am I gonna live my life?
I see nothing at all when I close my eyes. It's fine.
They wanted to have a scene where somebody rips their eyes out, but then failed to earn that moment in the script.
Oh.
Like, it's just like, ooh, she ripped her eyes out.
Failed
Isn't
to
that
earn it.
insane?
It was the only way she would have been free of the company because those eyes were on lease. That's the whole thing. That your organs and body parts could be repossessed. And
I know they were coming for her eyes. Yeah, whatever. Great premise. Great premise. Completely fumbled. Absolutely fumbled.
And that was a heck of a retort there, Heather. Jeez, I knew you. You're better than that, Heather. What are we, 5?
I totally am. I had to flip a taco real quick, so all I can think of like say gibberish nonsense out of it, keep them on their toes. They'll never know what to expect.
Heather's debating with a handicap.
I am debating with the handicap because again, I don't really know like the inner workings of music. Like I don't know tones. I don't know what other people can do with their voices. Like, you know, I saw the Phantom of the Opera movie, like from a musical, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so terrible. This is the worst musical adaptation ever." I watched that movie. I thought it was fine.
It was enjoyable.
The amount of times she does splash with oil, she might legitimately be handicapped by this point.
My skin's just
she's
hi Spencer.
It's fine. Hey, what's up, Spencer?
I could go into the musical gripes of how they did the music in Phantom of the Opera, but the product they put on film was pretty good.
Yeah, I think
it was enjoyable.
Like,
I enjoyed watching it.
Like they said the main guy who played the Phantom, like he never like did musical stuff prior, and I'm like, for that he sounds good, but everyone's like, oh, he sounds terrible, he's the worst, and I'm like,
he nailed it for not being a musical theater guy or a singer. You know, in general, again, you get a vocal coach and you practice for 6 months. You know, sometimes people, pull off good performances, but like he was a bit weak compared to like every other Phantom who ever did it on Broadway.
Yeah,
because it's a huge role that requires a big voice. And damn, A for Effort, he did a great job doing it, but like you really needed somebody who could actually handle that role vocally.
You know where my bias is coming in on this one? That was the first time I ever heard Phantom of the Opera, and since then I've watched the Phantom of the Opera Broadway like stage recording that they had on Netflix for a while, which was like a special one they did for like, I don't know, the whatever anniversary of it. So that was my other introduction, and like, I mean, I definitely admit that one was better, but I didn't think the movie was bad.
I don't think the movie was bad or the Gerard Butler was bad. I just think it's it's mid. I guess. I guess that's what I'm saying. Phantom of the Opera is mid. It's pretty good.
That was that answers one of the questions we had in the chat from Vulpecula as to whether or not we'd seen that movie. Are there other versions, like movie versions of the Phantom of the Opera? I feel like there were.
Yes.
Not that I can remember. I mean,
of the musical, no, but of Phantom of the Opera, yes, because it was a book first.
Can I put in one that we're not talking about, but is one of my favorites, and it was a stage plays first? Fiddler on the Roof. Feelings on Fiddler on the Roof.
Wonderful, perfect, like absolutely wonderful movie adaptation. Yes, agreed. The movie of Fiddler is amazing. I forgot who plays Tavier, the main guy in it.
Freaking Reb Tevye.
He's amazing. He's perfect in that movie. That movie is literally a perfect musical adaptation. Like, it's so good.
It is just a chef kiss. Brony, sing the song that is your song in that one.
Oh, geez, yeah. It is highly unfortunate that I relate to Reb Tevye's "If I Were a Rich Man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard, and Cordero's ears wouldn't be bleeding right now."
I've heard worse.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
You're in tune enough.
You know what's funny is
I was raised in a musical family, but I'm not musically talented, which I don't know how I'm always the odd one out of my family. I'm the physically biggest one. I'm the only one that came out heavy set. I'm the only one that went bald early. I'm the only one who can't sing or didn't get into music, and I'm the only one that didn't get into marksmanship. But anyway, yeah. So I feel like I've got an ear for it, and I have good days and bad days, but I definitely need to be coached and learned.
You could. Your baseline is really high, for people that aren't singers.
Yeah.
So
remember your cover
yeah,
looking
that kind of thing there. But where were we going with that? Yeah, Fiddler on the Roof,
brought
really
it up.
good.
It's good.
Yeah, Fiddler
Just
on the
another
Roof.
example of it being done right and that it can be done right. And I'm seriously, I'm racking up the points here despite how it looks, with like there being way more better, or like at least up to par.
Well, that used to
iterations of
be
musical translated.
Hollywood's thing. Hey Heather, here's a curious question for you. Does Gentlemen Prefer Blondes count as a musical movie?
Just might, and I love that movie, Marilyn Monroe.
Was that a
Girl.
stage musical?
It might was.
To
I'd
Google.
have to double check that real quick.
Oh, I just
Guys,
thought of another. I just thought of another quote bad one that they did it the proper way. You know, they dubbed and they didn't warp the music. But I also hated it.
Oh, it was a novel.
Sweeney Todd.
Oh,
the Johnny Depp Sweeney Todd is bad.
Unpopular, but I liked Sweeney Todd. It was my introduction to the musical
Sweeney
in
Todd,
general,
yeah.
and I've. Ow! Shit! I'm gonna leave you.
Johnny Depp was like, Sweeney Todd. What's her face? Helen Bonham Carter. Awful. Absolutely awful in that movie. Like this weird, quiet, mousy voice. If you hear Angela Lansbury, God rest her soul, Angela Lansbury is the definitive Mrs. Lovett. And if you watch her do it, you will never want to hear Helena Bonham Carter sing ever again.
I definitely have been denied the pleasure of seeing it on stage.
I think it's a great musical. I've performed Sweeney Todd. I was Anthony the Sailor. Anthony played Anthony the Sailor. I mean, who knows what my real name is? Oops, doxed.
Dox him! Dox him now!
Doxed him. I've been in Sweeney Todd. It's a great musical. But the movie, I think that Johnny Depp should have played the judge. I think Johnny Depp would have No. I'm messing it up. I've talked with my other friends about this before. No, you know who would have been okay. So the person who played the judge, I just cut that part out, Brony. I messed up my own point.
You're live. You're living with it.
Oh no. The person who played the judge was Snape. So why is my mind Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman played the judge in that movie, and he should have played Sweeney Todd. Alan Rickman. No, he was brilliant as the judge. He was great as the judge because it's fucking Alan Rickman, and he's wonderful and whatever he touches. God rest his soul. He should have played Sweeney Todd. He would have killed it as Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd is supposed to be older. Johnny Depp comes across as too young in the movie. Johnny Depp is old, bitter, and angry. And Alan Rickman would have done an amazing job playing that role. He's so jaded and he wants to get revenge back on the world. Johnny Depp seems like he's better fit to be Anthony the Sailor because he still has that young, despite being 50 years old, he has that young looking face and he has that like youthful attitude and that optimism of him. Basically, they miscast that movie. Depp should have been Anthony the Sailor. Alan Rickman should have been Sweeney Todd. Helen Bonham Carter should have gotten their coffee in the morning. And if Angela Lansbury was alive at that time, she should have been Mrs. Lovett.
All right, real quick. Hold on, real quick. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes was a movie, or was a Broadway show first in 1949, and then Marilyn Monroe was in the movie adaptation.
Marilyn Monroe, like, she was my favorite character in it, even though she wasn't supposed to be like the lead, even though, you know, she's the blonde and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, but she rocked it. And that's what really does it for me. But it was a great iteration. I liked that movie a lot. It's just the epitome of like what I would do in life if I was just a little more superficial. So.
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is Heather's like wish fulfillment fantasy.
Okay. Maybe I should see it.
I'm completely biased. If I was a blonde bimbo, yes, I would go for a rich man, make him fall in love with me, and live the rest of my life in luxury. That's just what you do.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
If you had the option, why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I feel like my pride would get in the way.
Yeah. Admittedly, yeah. Begrudgingly, yeah. I would just,
I don't know.
I want to do it myself. I want to do it myself.
If I had a nice set of tits, I might want to get paid for them.
All right. So on Twitter, Trent Jerome said, I know Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was fun. That I haven't seen that one. If a bit problematic. What is problematic about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Can somebody fill me in?
Probably something that didn't
obviously-
age well, but Emerald
Yeah.
seemed pretty high on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I've never watched it myself either.
I actually haven't seen it either. I'm aware of it, of the story,
I haven't
and like,
seen it
and
either.
I'm aware of the children's book, but not the musical. Now I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Crickets. Nobody knows what that is. Disney movie.
No, sorry,
Nope.
bro.
Oh wow.
Flew over my head. Yeah.
They fly away on a bed, and there's a street dancing
What?
scene that's like 10 minutes long.
Jeez.
Look up Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. That Disney fever dream. Okay, so think
Oh.
Mary Poppins, but
Yeah.
on drugs.
Okay.
Okay. Paladin Pony T is asking about Grease and Little Shop of Horrors. What?
Good
And,
music.
Okay. I can
Good
Yeah.
movies.
Of course, and you
I
can't
can-
tell me the movie iteration was bad. It was amazing. The casting was
No,
great. The
dude.
singing was great.
I
no, I will
did
fight
like it,
you.
yeah. I know. I didn't. I was agreeing. I think it was good. I just regret that I didn't like pay attention to it much until like I was already out of high school.
Well,
So that's
like,
I think Little
yeah.
Shop
Well,
of
that's not-
Horrors brings out an interesting conversation about like what makes a good adaptation, because if I understand correctly, in the stage play, Little Shop of Horrors ends with the plant taking over the world or reproducing or something like that. And then and in the movie they have that ending, but it tested horribly with audiences, so they changed it and changed the ending to make it so that the plant was defeated at the end. And that begs the question of whether or not that was the right thing to do, to change something that drastic of the story.
I think it
In
was
the
the right
story.
thing to do because it tested so well, and it definitely I'm sorry I'm a basic bitch, but I love a happy ending, not a downer ending. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with like audience testing. And while like, I don't know if the musical still ends that way, but
Well,
like,
maybe someone here can explain to me why, because like a lot of musical endings, plays out there end tragically, and people seem to like them
Yeah.
better for it. But when movies end tragically, people are more likely to freaking hate it. So can somebody explain that psychology to me?
because theater kids are depressed, they're not okay. They're
Honestly,
never okay.
yeah, kind of along that vein. People who go to see musicals are kind of snobs, and they want to see things that are different that you wouldn't see in a movie. So it's just a different audience. Movies
They
are
wanna
for
be
general
different, though.
audiences, and generally, normal people want to see happy endings and be all hunky dory and leave this freaking movie theater in a good mood.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
true.
Well, that was
I
pretty
think that's
easily
probably
solved.
true.
Yep.
I
And
mean,
then-
like,
The last
mean, like-
question. Yeah, go ahead, Kanto.
honestly, I mean, imagine how like depressed you would have been if like Rent played out like in a bad ending. Like Roger finally admits that he's like in love with Mimi, and she dies, and like he plays his song for her, and she just does not come back, and we don't get a hint at Angel again,
Oh yeah.
and you don't get that. You don't get that no day but today at the end. You're depressed. You're gonna leave not okay for like
Yeah.
the next week.
And that movie already had so much death and lows in it that it would have been too
Exactly.
much. It would have overdone the tone. It's like we get it. People died of AIDS. Please end the movie on a higher note. AIDS. Everybody's got AIDS. 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 AIDS.
Like it literally just ends. And it's like, oh man, how much time do I have before I
Hey,
die?
in freaking Team America World Police, the freaking audience in that movie seemed to be digging it.
Heather
has AIDS, and so do you.
Heather, Paladin Pony T wanted to know how many of the classic musicals you have seen.
So I'm gonna have to do some supplement questions. What do we consider the classic musicals, and what do you mean seen? Like I've watched watched it on TV, or have I gone to the musical theater myself and seen it live in person? Because the only Broadway musical or musical at all that I've seen in person that I haven't played a part in because I was like on stage myself when I was in high school and junk. The only one is I saw Wicked when I was in middle school for a trip to the East Coast. I went to Broadway in New York and saw Wicked with Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, and that was
Nice.
I wouldn't think that's a classic one, but it is like a quintessential one that a lot of people know.
I mean, I guess Wicked at this point would be a classic. At this point.
Oh, I'm old. Wicked came out when I was in high school. I'm so old.
Dude, really? Oh my god.
Girl, I was in middle school.
Y'all are making me realize how young I am, and I don't like
I
it.
would, you know, something. I am morbidly curious to know how well, and like a cinematic adaptation of Avenue Q would play out in modern audiences.
Please. No, it would.
I like Avenue Q. I don't think it would go over well.
I know that modern Twitter would not like all the gay jokes.
No,
it would go over horribly. But listen, if you do the cinematography like a Sesame Street episode, it would be hilarious.
Well, that's it. That pretty much was a Sesame Street episode, and Sesame Street was filmed in front of a live studio audience, which basically means it was a play.
That's what you have to do.
So we are not really stretching the format here.
So that means it would be easy to adapt.
Literally, please, that would be hilarious. I will do the puppets myself. I'll do it myself.
Get Gary Coleman to play himself.
For a couple of those scenes, you'd literally do the puppets yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Wait. Oh, dang. Yeah.
You can be as loud as.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, you know something? We're gonna cast Canto as Gary Coleman.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yep,
perfect.
That's what we're gonna.
Coleman from TV's Different Strokes.
Oh god, that's the part of the movie that ages the worst because he's been dead for a long time now.
It's like no. It'd be like, who the fuck is Gary Coleman? What is Different Strokes?
Yeah, I need to get cast as Bryan.
I'm too young for Different Strokes.
I need to get cast as Bryan. I pretty much am Bryan. Alrighty then, we're talking a whole bunch of nonsense to people who haven't seen Avenue Q. Let's see here. So that's all I saw for questions in the chat. Did anybody else see anything?
Are there any other musicals that we disagree on that like somebody loves but the other one hates?
You know, I just finished cooking, so I have not looked at the chat at all.
How do y'all feel about In the Heights?
I've never seen it.
I was listening to some of the music and I couldn't get into it.
Dang.
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of there was that, but then I also saw that a lot of people were surprised about Andrew Garfield's performance in Tick Tick Boom. And I just kind of want to take a moment to assess that how I really think that compared to Tick Tick Boom on Broadway or off Broadway was a 3-person musical, and yet they so seamlessly made it feel more alive, but still feel centered around those 3 people. And I just think that it's not an easy feat to pull off, but it's they nailed it. And I do think that if you haven't seen Tick Tick Boom already, go see Tick Tick Boom. And
I have not seen it. It's another Andrew Larson piece.
Yeah, it was you can, the soundtrack is on for both the off Broadway version and the movie version. They're both on Spotify.
Okay.
I discovered it my freshman year, and I've it's been one of my favorite Larson musicals ever since.
So let's see here. Paladin Pony T clarified his question for Heather. So Heather, Grease. Have you seen Grease?
I have seen Grease, and while I can see why other people like it, it wasn't for me. It was just a little too standard, you know, kind of boring.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma
any of
Mia
us?
is another one I haven't seen. I have listened to a few of the songs, and I do like some of the songs.
Pierce Brosnan is bad in that.
Legally Blonde.
Ooh,
I
I
like
love
it.
Legally Blonde.
I also
Legally
like
Blonde's a classic?
It's a musical.
Supposed to.
No, but is it a classic?
It's
Is it
whatever.
I don't
really?
know, girl.
What is a classic?
Yeah, that's the question I had. We might need to define classic here.
My favorite classic is Ann Putnam's 5th annual spelling bee.
We
That
have
movie
we have
came out
so
in, like,
much
2006.
we have so
There's just
much
a lot of-
history at this point, and there's so much out there that we have to really start. Like, I think classic isn't that great of a term when trying to define something, because there's so many different eras. I think that's how we should be asking the
right?
questions, as should we defining it by
What is classic?
era.
Is it like Andrew Lloyd Webber and earlier? Is it like Guys and Dolls and earlier? Like how old does it have to be?
Wait, how old
My
is
Fair
Guys
Lady?
and Dolls?
That was 60s, I want to say.
What?
It was made in the 60s and it was about the 40s.
Now, you see,
Oh my God.
I'm a fan of the true classics like Antigone. And
I played in Antigone. Also, that was a musical, because when I played in it, it wasn't a musical.
no,
Antigone-
the joke was I went as far back as I possibly could.
See, he has that, because like that flew right over my head. I've never heard of that thing.
Yeah,
before.
Antigone is
supposed to be what happens after, like, well, you've heard of Oedipus? It's basically the sequel.
Oh.
Oh, I had my
Oh.
chronology totally screwed up. I thought Oedipus came after Antigone.
Speaking of people who
Antigone
rip their
is
eyes
his
out,
Again, we're back again.
Yeah, so I went all the way to ancient Greece for my joke. And I'm sure it was a musical. They had a chorus.
It's more for chanting.
Oedipus the musical. I think that was a joke on some.
It was in Hercules,
Ah.
a Disney movie. He was like, oh my god, the musical we saw, Oedipus? I thought I had problems.
Oh yeah.
That's all right. Here's one question I wanted to ask real quick before we wrap it up. What's it gonna be like when we adapt the Spider-Man and/or Shrek musicals into movies?
If they ever
We
find
went
a
from
way.
movies to stage to back to movies again, which brings me to another question I was gonna ask. Movies that
What's
have been
up?
made into stage plays, because like I think Legally Blonde was the movie first, and then it turned into a Broadway musical. So, and I've
Yes.
seen that that was pretty good. That was very good. So in general, do we
Yeah.
think that the trend of going in reverse is good?
I mean,
There's some
Legally
good ones.
Blonde was good.
There's some very good
Shrek
ones,
was
yeah.
good. Mean Girls, which recently came out, was good. What? I don't think there's any other movies that have been
You know what I
turned
don't get
into
though? Why would they do
musicals.
Mean Girls? They already have Heathers.
But like, listen, I agree with you, but the singer for Regina George, I didn't learn her name. My bad. Fake theater kid. But like, she nailed that. She nailed Regina in Watch the World Burn.
I'm gonna have to see that.
It was like, I just loved the music. I just loved the music in Mean Girls, and Heather's was also really good. Oh yeah, Heather's was also a movie made musical.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great.
Yeah, they were all really good. So I think those are good.
How
But,
was
like,
the SpongeBob musical? Did anyone see that?
I
don't
did
know.
see it.
I didn't see it.
I listened to the off-Broadway soundtrack, and then I watched the Broadway version of it on Nickelodeon. I personally find the musical very entertaining and very imaginative, because Ethan Slater, just every actor on that stage, they were those characters. Like, Ethan Slater absolutely nailed the performance of SpongeBob. Like, the guy played Patrick nailed Patrick. Wesley Taylor nailed Plankton. It was just It's just like if you like literally, it was literally like watching a SpongeBob episode kind of. If you imagine a SpongeBob musical spectacular in your head, like that's what the musical sounded like.
Like
And it was
best
just
day
like
ever.
That's fun.
yeah, that or the Atlantis Square Pantis. I don't know. Is that
I
what it's called?
actually didn't like Atlantis Square Pantis.
Yeah.
It
What?
didn't jive. It didn't jive with me. I didn't like it.
Oh,
Nah.
come on, man. I'm
All
It
right, so
just didn't vibe.
we need everybody to join up on my Patreon and give me $1 million so I can adapt
Yes.
Shrek the musical into a movie.
Brilliant. Played.
Yeah.
You gotta give.
Played by
You gotta
Chris Pratt.
get.
With one, no, I'm
Sorry,
gonna
Chris
cast, but I will cast Jack Black as Shrek.
There you go. It's
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah, you know what? Fine.
And it's all gonna be practical effects, just 100% practical.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh
We'll
man,
just-
you're gonna give Jack Black the Grinch treatment that Jim Carrey went through.
Oh Lord,
Hey,
the makeup.
bro. Yeah, but hey, he nailed it. He still nailed the facial expressions, bro.
Oh,
It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jim Carrey. Yeah. You know what I would
Yeah.
actually like to be seen adapted onto the screen from musical theater?
What's up?
Mm.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
dude, totally.
that would be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be great,
That would
yeah.
be great.
I
I've
would
listened
like
to
to
the
see.
musical and
I
I've
would
read the
like to
book.
see. I would like to see a movie adaptation of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Look, there already is one,
It
isn't there?
exists. Yes, there is.
Oh,
one.
it
But if
does.
we do it,
Yeah.
How did I not know
It's from the
this?
70s.
yeah.
It's from the 70s. Yeah. It's
Okay.
super
Do it.
popular.
If they ever redo it again, I want to play Judas. He does. He has all
mean,
the
who
best
doesn't?
songs. He has
yeah.
all the best songs.
We should have our friend Magic Hat play Jesus. He's the one that looks most like Jesus.
Yeah. That's a peanut gallery Chris. he's been in the background of the show. He's not here today. He's not playing video games tonight.
Yeah.
Behind me. Yeah.
Oh geez. Well, I don't have anything else from the chat. Is there anything else you guys want to say for closing? One more thing you guys want to say before I wrap this up?
The concept album of Jekyll and Hyde is better than the show that ended up on Broadway.
Damn,
Definitely.
crazy.
I'll have to take your word for it. I have no idea.
I would like to say, as always, I didn't learn anything. I was right all along. Thank you.
I baited everybody. I wanted to complain about two movies and it turned into 4, so I'm happy. I love musicals and I love musicals on screen, except for the ones I specifically said I hated.
Okay, congratulations, Cordero. You played all of us.
I played everyone.
Yeah.
I did not think we were going to do that. I literally typed that suggestion today and thinking like, yeah, he'll put that in the list and maybe we'll do it eventually. And he's like, let's do it now. And I'm like, oh shit.
And Heather was like, "Excuse me, sir."
It made Heather mad. That's why.
Yeah.
See, it worked. My clickbait worked.
Well, I'm all about making that clickbait work, my dude.
Harriman
right.
says, Heather, you're still wrong about Repo being good, but otherwise you're right.
Hey yo.
Harriman, agree to disagree, or I will fight you.
Okay.
Oh, Harriman said Ninja Turtle fans don't care about it. I don't know what he's talking about, but Ninja Turtles as a musical would be interesting.
They have to get the suits they did with those movies in, like, what was it, the 80s or 90s?
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
They have to.
The 90s.
They have to do it with the suits.
They
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to.
But okay, actually no, I take it back because if we do Ninja Turtles as a musical, then Go Ninja Go will inevitably end up in that playbill,
Yes,
and I don't want
has
that.
to.
It will.
It
Yes,
has
it
to.
will.
I want the turtles
Go
breakdancing.
ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go
Yes,
ninja,
they
go.
have to breakdance, Brony. That's something they have to do.
I don't
Oh
care
my
about
God.
Turtles breakdancing. That's fine. I just hate that
Bron-
song.
Bronny, you just
Yeah.
gave me flashbacks to conventions circa 2003 to 2008 when they would play Go Ninja Go and everybody was in Naruto costumes going nuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Song in the
jeez.
dance hall.
Yes. Yes.
God, weebs are just the lowest form of life.
But it's a good life. It's a fun
It's a
life.
good life. It's a good
All
life.
right. All right. Well,
so Heather wins the debate, but only because I set it up on a stand like it's t-ball for her.
Yeah.
Dude, I win every debate I'm on. I never learn anything.
That doesn't mean you win. It just means you're
Yes,
retarded.
it does. I'm always right. My opinion is objectively correct.
No, that's me.
No, it's not.
Oh,
It's
wow.
me.
Are y'all arguing over who's right?
Yes. Argue,
Yeah.
argue. Bicker, bicker, bicker.
We go through this at least twice a day over here. I'm gonna be the only man to defeat his wife in an argument. Just mark my words.
This is their foreplay.
He has not won anything.
Do not word it like that, Cordero. The frick is wrong with you?
He will
Like-
die. He's right. He'll be right, and then he'll die.
Bronny,
Yeah,
like
and
two
then-
people
and
were
then they'll make
talking
a-
over-
And then they'll make a musical about me, like frickin' John Henry.
John
like, well,
Henry.
he was right.
He's a hard-working man.
Canto, closing thoughts and one thing you learned tonight.
Closing thoughts. Musicals are fun, and one thing I learned, that there are a lot more theater kids in this fandom than I first thought.
Of course there is.
It's too many of you already.
I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of theater kids in this fandom. You just happen to catch a couple that know a little bit about it. Most bronies are too introverted to get up on stage.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cordero, closing thoughts and one thing you learned tonight.
I learned that Repo the Genetic Opera was targeted to high school girls, and that makes so much sense now.
Ah.
Why do I want to be a hoe covered in blood so bad?
Watch the movie Carrie. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I will do that. It was a good movie.
now I'm just thinking an Equestria Girls like fan fiction, but it's just the plot of Carrie.
I learned-
I would read it. I'm sure it exists. It has to,
No,
right?
like Rebecca Soychet singing what's
Sure,
it
kid.
I think I think what's that song called, like when she like gets covered in blood and then she like just goes off and kills people. What is that
Wait.
song called?
You mean in Carrie? Like
Yeah.
I can't remember what the song is. What the song is called?
But like Rebecca Soychet
Rebecca
singing
Short.
that would,
She would nail it. She would
It
freaking
would-
nail it.
it would go. I would pay money to see that. Like
Listen, it takes talent to duet with yourself.
yes.
Because she sings for Twilight and Sunset.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
It's awesome.
I learned that I need to level up so I'm not so susceptible to Cordero's bait.
You should have been suspicious. Like Anthony hates musical movies. Oh my god! Like it's such obvious bait. You know me.
I know that you like musicals. I've never really heard you talk about musical movies. So when you said I hate musical movies, it was within my realm of like I could believe it. I could believe it.
Possible.
Fair,
I guess I didn't
Cordero,
know you as
kinda-
well.
To be fair, you kind of rub me as a snob.
Crazy.
Correct. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
he is. He's worse than me on some days.
Crazy.
And some
I'm li-
topics.
Yeah,
of
oh yeah,
I'm li-
Bronny's a huge snob. Like, you guys are two peas in a pod. When it
I'm
comes to
literally
that.
swirling a neat pour of scotch in a Glencairn glass right now.
What?
Yes.
He's the freaking alcohol snob too.
Yes. I am.
Jesus.
All right, I'm gonna close this out. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you learned something as well. If you'd like to get on the show, we'd love to have you. We'll just get you on the Patreon or subscribe store for as little as $1 a month. Check out all those links in the description to see what you can get. We're very grateful to everybody who chips in, especially the $10 and up tiers, such as Cordero, Canto, and Princess, Heather Blossom, who are with us tonight, as well as Shady Oak Ministries, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, Rein-Kun. Yeah, there's Emerald in the background. There's like half my patrons frickin' live with me.
He's the
QFlash,
Chris of
Billy,
the stream.
Henline, Alden, MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Canto Acrylic VA, Mr. Sonic 31, Rich the Hedgehog, Alicia Lynette, Zeta Z, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, VultureCorp, and Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series. Check out all their links in the description. I need to work on my business model because this is not going to scale up in the way that I want it to and still be effective. But regardless of that, Yeah, in about a half hour, we're going to be on Princess Heather Blossom's channel doing what?
We're playing
Crochet?
Hogwarts Legacy, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Turf War!
This time I checked.
Wait, but isn't that
Let's
game wrong
go.
think? Isn't it wrong think to play
No.
that game?
Yeah,
Wrong
Turf
thing,
War!
nah.
Let's go!
Nah.
You're
let's
you're
just-
all turfs.
What do you
Okay,
mean?
my main character identifies
Bruh.
as what? Bet you better come and find out
Come find out on the next stream.
on the next stream.
I
Here's your
identify
teaser.
as a threat.
We're gonna
Yeah.
play Hogwarts Legacy in space. Call that AstroTurf.
Hey! Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. God bless. Stay safe.